no, I really, yeah, I will. But it's interesting because I don't see Donna and them,
Yeah, I know, just wait a minute.
I think when you have technical difficulties, they probably was trying to get in.
Could be.
Yeah.
All right. Now, we're good. Now,
Oh, that's better.
so if you will
Okay,
say hello and introduce yourself.
Since it wasn't on the YouTube station at the moment, now it is. I did call the meeting to order at 6:35 p.m. and I'm Tori Bailey, the chair of the Homelessness Liaison meeting for UNNC, which stands for United Neighborhoods Neighborhood Council. And so tonight we have an interesting topic, and we're going to show a short video at some point after
Right.
public comment, and introduce Mr. Michael Peters, who will do a demonstration or talk about some of the instances and issues, and I would say his daily operations that he has to come up with in regards to the use of Narcan. So it'll be very interesting topic, and it's something that everybody needs to know how to do, but at the moment we don't walk around with it in our pocket, so it's a lot of times we'll just have to call back up for 911 emergency and be able to recognize the signs. So that's the brief video that we're going to show, so they can have some idea of what to do in case of emergencies.
Okay.
So now I will open it up for public comment. I see Mr. Brown and Ms. Jones, two landlords in our community. But one, Mr. Brown is more of a developer who can introduce himself and give me more insight on what he does in the community. You have 2 minutes. And we can discuss later.
Yes, my name is Rodney Brown. My company is New Life Global Development. We are a development firm with an alliance of local developers building affordable housing. There's probably a couple of projects that we've done that you're familiar with, like 1650 West Florence, that 5-story building, 120 units. That's been vacant for a while, and we're hoping that we can come up with a solution to help LASA to open that building to the public as well. So we've been doing affordable housing for a while. My website is newlifeglobaldevelopment.com, and anyone can find me on social media. Some refer to me as Rescue Rodney. Sometimes if maybe you go to YouTube, that was the time that I spent as an ambassador to Inglewood and Los Angeles with the American Red Cross. We are always looking for intensive case management service agencies to master lease our properties, whether it's transitional housing or permanent supportive housing. We have several projects being built right now, like 1010 East 25th Street, as well as 52nd and Crenshaw. And we're also looking for more opportunities with the faith-based community to build more affordable housing. So if you are the owner of a lot that's at least 15% or more, 15,000 square feet or more, we're interested in doing joint ventures, as well as we will build it for you as well, and then match it up with an organization like maybe Brilliant Corners or LASA, People Concerned, all the usual great organizations that are out there doing their thing to provide services for different homeless populations. Again, my name is Rodney Brown. My company is New Life Global Development. Thank you.
Thank you. That was good. That was a real 2 minutes. He's an expert at this.
Yes.
Oh, Donna, any public comment? What's new in the neighborhood for homelessness or anything good, bad, or indifferent?
We're trying to reach out to Herman Jones for our next meeting to talk about the Prop 1 and how it will impact Southern California.
Oh, okay. I just emailed him today. I put him on the list, whether they're busy or not to be able to come. But I'll probably talk to him Monday next week.
Well, you can help me. Maybe I did reach out to Commissioner Mike.
Okay.
And
Oh, if you already
because,
asked Mike, you're good.
yeah, I think so. So
Yeah.
that's the plan, to have that opportunity.
Oh, okay. That'd be great. What's the date of your next meeting?
Our next meeting is, I believe, Wednesday, the 13th of
Wednesday, April 13th.
Now,
13th.
now
But let-
10? April the 3rd is a Wednesday.
Then the 10th. I'm sorry, honey, you're right.
Okay.
Thank you. I have so many things going on. The 13th is something else in my family. The 10th,
Okay, so West Adams Avenue's meeting will be Wednesday, April 10th. At what time?
regular, it's 7 to 8:30.
7 p.m. to 8:30.
So
Perfect.
Donna, is that gonna be hybrid or is it gonna be 100% Zoom? Meaning, are you gonna
100%
be
Zoom.
here? You're not gonna be.
Every other meeting, last time we were at the house.
Okay, so this one will be Zoom, totally.
Yeah,
Okay, Zoom only.
right.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful.
And
So,
one other thing, we're definitely looking for, we're gonna be advertising for the area for grads, because we do our celebration grad night in June for those who are matriculating from any level. And we're looking for the young people or anyone who's actually graduating, like we did
okay,
last year, but we're looking now so we can get our certificates prepared.
right.
Gonna put
Sounds
that.
good.
Mhm.
Exciting, exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, with no further ado, we have a gentleman here who wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're gonna have him do our presentation immediately after the short video that we're gonna show, just for those who are visual learners out there, and we'll take it from there.
me to do the?
Yes, we're gonna do the video first, and then everybody understand what Michael's speaking of that way he doesn't have to physically demonstrate.
Okay, so I'm gonna, here we go, share sound, optimize for video. I was gonna say, it's not giving me options, but yes it is.
Hopefully that's the one. Even though it says Denver, it's the same.
It's the one you sent me the link for.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Short, sweet, and to the point.
Naloxone is a medication designed to rapidly reverse opioid overdose. It can restore normal respiration to a person whose breathing has slowed or stopped as a result.
Uh-oh.
No, I stopped it. You asked me to turn it up and I have to figure out how to do that.
Oh, no, down here. Look at the speaker at the bottom. It's not going to be. Right there. You see the speaker?
Yes.
No. No. See the time at the bottom of the blue? Well, I guess you can turn it up over there too. Oops. There you go.
Okay. Back to here.
Of overdosing with heroin or prescription opioid pain medications. How to recognize an opioid overdose? Small constricted pinpoint pupils, falling asleep or loss of consciousness, slow, shallow breathing, choking or gurgling sounds, limp body, pale, blue or cold skin. How to use Narcan? 1. Identify an opioid overdose and check for response. 2. If no response, administer Narcan through the nasal passages. This will not cause harm if not experiencing an opioid overdose. 3. Call 911 immediately, as additional support is often needed. 4. Try to keep the person awake and breathing. 5. Lay the person on their side to prevent choking. 6. Stay with the person until emergency workers arrive. To obtain Narcan to carry, please talk to your primary care provider or pharmacist. You do not need a prescription to obtain this overdose reversing medication. Please keep it room temperature.
Sweet to the point. So now that's a visual that I would
Okay.
hope. But
Narcan nasal spray
it goes into more and more. But
I'm just trying to get back to our.
yeah, let's go back.
Stop the show.
There we go. All right. Laura's learning new things tonight.
Well, it's different in this hybrid environment.
Right.
It is just if you're at home using a computer.
Exactly. So
Okay,
with
there
no
we go.
further ado, I'm going to introduce Mr. Michael Peters. And Michael is a social worker, and he's going to give you more in depth of what he does on a daily basis when it comes to helping people that are unhoused or just returned from jail. Or I'm sure there's a plethora of instances and examples that he will share with us. Thank you, Michael, for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
It's a long day.
So my name is Michael Peters, and I work out of Orange County. I cover a part of Orange County, Tustin, San Diego, Santana. So I'm very busy. I'm out there from 3 o'clock in the morning. I work closely with the Departments of Correction and Rehabilitation. As we all know that the government is now saying that it's easier to rehabilitate these guys than house them in prison. So what we do, what my role is that I do placement based on what the court says with these guys. You know, it's a deal that they make. Going into housing and stay away from drugs, must be clean at all times. So moving forward with that, what I do is I find housing which is mainly assisted living or the rehab itself. Most of the guys I work with on a daily basis are heroin and crystal meth mixed together. We're trying to get our young people, especially our teens, to be aware of their surrounding when it comes to hanging out with friends, drinking, smoking, sharing anything. Everything these days, these guys are lacing with fentanyl, and fentanyl is the #1 killer in Orange County. We are faced with that on a daily basis. We have guys falling over like flies in Orange County. So in last, I would say last year, between October and December, we had over 20 something overdose. And in that, we had 7 that died instantly. All because of fentanyl laced with heroin, fentanyl laced with meth, fentanyl laced with marijuana, and all of that sort. So it's very important that we learn about Narcan. It is free. You don't have to have a license to carry it. You don't have to be certified to administer it. All you need to do is to make sure that, and excuse me for having bring one with me this evening, but you must insert the nozzle of the Narcan into the nostril. So you will hold the bottom part, which is the red tip, and you spray that straight into the nose. As you see in the little video that we showed previously, you want to make sure oops, that's just a balloon.
That's a balloon.
You want to make sure that the client or whoever it is laying on the side. 90% of the time, the clients that is OD from fentanyl will tell you, I'm fine, I don't need to go to the doctor, I'm good. No, you're not good. You are still somewhat dead from Narcan, from fentanyl. So you must seek medical, you must get medical clearance all my clients, and I can't stress this enough, in Orange County and in LA County, is that clients will come to you and say, or you revive them. And while working with them, they'll come and tell you, you know what, I'm good, so I don't need to go to the doctor. Two things. They're scared because now the parole agent will know about it.
Oh,
And number two, we have to report it to the states.
wow.
And so once you report it to the parole agency, it's a red flag, because then obviously you're still using. And so you know you're going to get kicked out from a program, and you will possibly be in the streets or go back to prison. It's very important that we encourage them to seek medical help. Another thing with drug overdose is that these people will appear to you normal, walk up to you, they will sit. I have guys that comes to my meeting, and we'll sit down, we'll have our meeting in discussion, and you will see them just leaning over, can't stay awake, sleepy. That's a sign of drug use, that's a sign of fentanyl. So it's very important that we learn and educate ourselves on this epidemic that we have with the fentanyl that is on the market these days. Be aware that it takes just a little bit. If you're not a user, or regardless if you're a user, the fact is that just a little bit of it takes like 3 grains of salt to knock you out, and that will go directly to the heart, and it will stop beat immediately. So we must educate ourselves on the use of it. Young people, grandmother, parents, whoever, because you don't know what your kids are doing. Today's society these kids are being peer pressured. They're being introduced to a lot of things, and some of us as parents, we don't know what's going on out there when they're not in front of us. So we must educate ourselves with it. Like I say, you don't have to be certified. You just need to know how to administer it. Definitely call 911. I often tell most of the programs that is dedicated to these guys is that you want to work 2 persons. So one person will administer Norcan, the other person will be on the phone with 911. You want to make sure you have the person date of birth, did the person have medical, do the person, the person age. You want to make sure you have all that information to give to the paramedics while on the phone with them, while the other one is trying to keep them awake. You don't want them to sleep. That's the last thing you need, because that could be history. So you want to keep them awake. You want to talk to them as much as possible. One of the things in Orange County and Tustin, I know a lot, is that 50% of the time it's not the staff that found the OD, it's the other participants. And the participants will run out yelling, "Bring Norcan, we have an OD." In the case of that happen, wherever you may work, your office or you're in the street and you see you need to act fast, get 911 on the phone, administer Norcan. It will take a possible sometimes up to 3 or 4, 5 Norcans, depends on the body structure of the person. If it's a big person, it may take sometimes 3, 4. I have in my office, sometimes it takes up to 6 Norcans just to keep someone somewhat alert until the paramedics get there, to then shoot them in the neck and then take them off to the hospital. But those are things that we have to educate ourselves on, because it's a rapid disease, it's a rapid thing that is going on right now in today's society.
Wow. I have a question. What's the percentage of the places that you place in housing that they stay and they're successful at it, like staying off the drugs?
You know what, the percentage it's very small. I would say maybe about 50% of them really and when I mean complete, I mean successfully complete. So the way these programs are designed for these guys that are released from custody and somewhat trying to get them back into what society is all about is to, number one, you need to stay away from drugs. You need to stay clean, because I do random testing. I don't, the parole and the probation department, they will have you call in on a nightly basis
Wow.
to let you know that you are being tested today. So if you are in group 7, so you know group 7 is on that recording, that means tomorrow you got to show up at the parole or the probation office to be tested. In my case, I do not give out no random calls. I just pop up and that's a test. The test, the cups are 99.9% accurate. So if you tell me, sir, I never did use it, or I don't know how that get into my system, yeah, you know how you get in the system because then you use it. So that's an immediate violation, because you made this agreement that you're not going to constantly use drugs. So the percentage is about that, but going back to it, you must complete the program successfully, which means from the time you were released from custody, from the time you come to the rehab, you went through the intake process. You have to give us a clean test. You have to pass that 45 days of staying clean and then start looking for work. Then you need to save 75% of your earning. And that 75% of that earning that goes into a special account for you. That doesn't go to the facility because it's government funding. When you graduate from the program successfully, that money goes with you, and then you go into a sober living home, which is different from residential. Residential means that they do everything there for you. You have job coach, you have a counselor, you have a psychiatrist, you have everything there. But once you go to a sober living, it's wind down to whereby you need to have responsibility, take responsibility for your actions, for what you're doing, how you're going about your day-to-day living, and how strong are you? I'm a chronic user. I'm going to work and I meet my best friend, and my best friend said, man, I'm going to do something. I have a little bit on me. Let's hit it. How strong are you to say, you know what? I'm not with this. I'm not trying to go back there. I'm trying to better my life. I'm trying to clean up my life. I'm trying to get back to what society is. That's what we try to do with these guys in the OC area. And so, yeah, the percentage is very, very small.
No, well, 50% was more than I was anticipating. I was thinking it was going to be less than that. But so when we say successful, is that at the sober living site, or they actually get to their own apartment?
So it starts from the residential to sober living.
Okay.
And so after sober living, you get 90 days with Health Right 360, and then you move on to sober living, you get another 90 days.
Okay.
So you could actually get up to 100 and something days without have to pay any bill.
Wow.
Nothing comes out of your pocket.
Okay.
So all you need to do is to build your money up so that when you complete sober living, you can now say, you know what, I can afford an apartment. Let me move into an apartment. Let me find a roommate, or let me find a single or something.
Okay.
Most of them does that.
Okay. And do you track them once they get into their apartments?
Yes, we often we track them. Some of them are so the ones that successfully complete, I must stress this, have kept up with the office.
Okay.
Just this week I have a client who he's a lifer. I don't know if you all know what a lifer is, but a lifer is someone who do over 20 something years in prison. And so the government take very, very good care of those ones. So a lifer will get probably like 100 and something days in residential and sober living. Well, I had a lifer who called me up. Today is Thursday, so he called me up, I think it was yesterday. And he was stressed out. He said to me, he says, I really need to talk to you, sir, and I want to tell you something, but I don't know how to say that. And I said, well, you either tell me or you don't tell me. Well, he eventually told me what happened. He relapsed and he got kicked out of the residential program where he was living. His fear was he did not want to tell his sister because his sister was his big supporter. I often tell my clients, and I often said this to a lot of people, and this is what I learned from a psychiatrist who I work closely with. She says, Michael, I want you to understand this. It will take some of you guys them 99 times before they get it. This young man was a lifer. This young man was in jail for 35 years.
Sheesh.
This young man says to me that it's easier back there than out here. I don't know nothing about out here. And I told him, I said, you know what? This is an adjustment for you. I get it. But one of the things that you have to do is that you have to stay clean. You must stay clean. If you want to get back to what society is, don't let those people in the office fool you. We all go through things. We all have different scenario going on in our life, but it's how you deal with it. Drugs is not one of it. Because you're only numbing your system for the minute. And when you get off of that high, your problem is right there. So every time you get off that high, you're subject to get another high because of the problem you're facing with. So I had to get on the phone with him and did a 3-way call for him to let his sister know that he relapsed.
Oh.
And she was very understandable. She was like, well, where are you? And
I have to walk to the park.
he said that I'm homeless. I got kicked out of the program. He's from the San Diego County. So he didn't know what to do, and he said he called his parole agent, and his parole agent didn't want to do anything for him. I said, well, listen, you are a lifer. There is something that they can do. So what you need to do, you need to go above him and ask to speak to the officer of the day. Let the officer of the day know that you did relapse, number one. Number two, you're not from Orange County area. You're homeless and you need to get back to San Diego. And so luckily he was able to make that call. The officer of the day then tell him, we can transport you back to San Diego.
Oh.
Once you get to San Diego, you have until Friday to report to the parole department and then let them figure it out what they're going to do with you. So that's how I had to work with him yesterday, getting him back out to San Diego.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, but he still may not.
Yeah, well, at least he wants to. He has to keep trying.
Well, you know what? It's a 50-50 thing, but more than likely he's going to get the help that he needs.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, lifers they don't take lifers easy. Lifers, you must put them. I have a client who is a lifer who been in and out of programs. The last program he went to, and they literally almost reject him, was the Salvation Army in Orange County, in Tustin. And once the Salvation Army house you, you got to work there for your housing. So you maybe get to do kitchen work, you maybe get to do garden work, you do something, but that's a payback for you to be in the program. And you must attend meetings, house meetings. They have house meetings.
Huh. Interesting. So what percentage actually gets to their apartment? How many actually get to the part where they go to an actual apartment?
I would say about maybe 20% of them that really get into apartment and do well in an apartment, that is still in an apartment and still active in their apartment. The percentage is very little, but you know what, again, they are trying, and so we continue to support those ones. Those are the ones that we call them the ambassador because they have the opportunity to come back to the rehab, come back to the program and talk to the younger ones that are coming into the program. You know what, man, this is not time for you to mess up. This program is very good. I benefit from it. We have a weekly newsletter, and I will share that with Tori. We have a newsletter of the ones who have really successfully complete and decide that they wanted to put an article in the OC newspaper of the treatment and all that they have gathered when they were with us.
Wow, and is that just for the lifers, or that's for anybody that comes?
That's for anyone that has successfully completed the program.
Okay.
So have moved on from residential into sober living and are still doing good up to sober living before the next transition of
their own apartment.
getting their own apartment.
Oh, okay, so you say 20%.
20% of them. And sometimes within that 20%, some of them depends on the location. If anybody knows Orange County, Tustin, it's drug infested, especially in Santana area. So if you know you went through all that rehabilitation to get yourself together and go back into that Tustin area, you are subject to relapse. Because of the drug population, the gang population, it's so devastated in that little area there in what's it called?
San Leandro? Santa Ana.
Yeah, it's so very it's drug infested, and so if you decided that you know what, that's where I grew up, that's where my homie hang out, that's where my home is, my dogs is at, and you're going back there, you're subject to relapse.
Yeah.
So for you to move forward, for you not to relapse is to get, and I often advise them, move away from it.
Right.
You know, it's like having crab in a barrel. Everybody want to get to the top. You're trying to get to the top, but somebody will bring you down. Going back to that, that's exactly what it is.
Wow.
But I have a related question, but not related to the path of people. I am not understanding the reason why the drug dealers are lacing marijuana and everything else with fentanyl. Because it would seem to me if they're killing their clients,
Right.
that's not a good business decision.
Well,
So what's happening?
It may not be the drug dealers' friends.
well, and that's what I was about to say. It is not the drug dealer that is doing it. It's these guys that are doing it. What we must be aware of. It's all about the feeling that they get from it. It's not the dealer. You won't even see the dealer. It's the guys that are buying it and experimenting with different stuff and how to do it. It's all about the feeling and how long the feeling will last. So you will mix fentanyl with heroin. That's a 3, 4, 5 days kick down.
Wow.
You know, you mix fentanyl with bath salt. That's another trend for you to lay down for a couple of days. So it's all about the feeling. It's not the drug dealer that is doing
Yeah,
it.
because it just seems like a dumb business decision.
It is a dumb business, and it's a business that they don't know what they're doing. So these guys that are doing it only get the big supply from the big man, but then they get into these garage and alley and different places and cook up what they want to cook up and start injecting and snurf and stuff like that. So it's scary.
Ooh, it is.
It's
Wow.
very scary.
Well, that's amazing. Well, we're talking about Narcan and how to correctly implement it and administer it. And so a lot of this affects the unhoused population. And so one of the things that happened at the interim houses, we had an overdose one time, and one of the young girls that was in the office, she went to go take the lady her breakfast and just happened to see something coming out around when she was laying back. And that's why they say put them on their side so they don't choke to death. And so that's probably what happened to her. And you can't tell me she did it on her own. The reason why, because that weekend she talked to me for 2 hours or more on that Saturday and 2 hours or more on that Sunday because she was excited about getting her own place. She was really excited. And, you know, telling me about her family and what have you. They live in, you know, another state and were pretty well to do, right? But the wife of one of the sons didn't want her to live with them, and they didn't want the responsibility. But she was really a good person, and I know she wouldn't take that on her own. And it just so happened that one of the girls that was angry with her was up all night for the most part, and I to this day I believe that she put something in her cigarette. Because they're putting it in cigarettes too. So, but that's just my opinion, you know, and my feeling, because I just happened to see the interaction. But it didn't happen till that Tuesday morning, and I saw the other girl upset on Saturday and Sunday. So, yeah, you never know what happens, but it is not really. It's just a multitude of ways that it gets there. And then the young ladies told me another story where this guy was he had the Narcan in his hand. But like Michael said, the fentanyl is so potent that he couldn't even get the Narcan up quick enough to save himself.
Yeah, you know what? That is, I'm glad you brought that up, but it is so ironic that some of the people that work with these guys are some of the ones that are doing it. I had a staff of mine that was at the office. He was a user. He been to prison, and so as a part of him trying to get his life together, they took a break on him and hired him as a monitor.
Okay.
One day I noticed his reaction with the staff and the participants. And so I pulled him on the side and I said to him, I said, "Are you in trigger mode the way you're behaving?" And he said, "No, sir, I'm not in trigger mode. I just, you gotta talk hard to them." I said, "Well, no, you don't. You don't have to talk hard to them." But that's because he was in trigger mode. So I had a word with him that evening. I left the office. The supervisor was making out the schedule. And so she called me at my house and she asked me, should I put him on the schedule back for the following week? And I said, you know what, put him on the schedule, but give him less days.
Right.
But he haven't seen the schedule yet. But he was living in a sober living house. Another staff that was in that sober living house, she got off from work that night and she said she went home. He said when she got to the sober living house, he was on the couch, dead.
Oh, no.
He had an overdose of fentanyl.
Oh, my goodness.
So it happened like this. So when and from what I get from Tustin PD and from her, he had his work bag, he lay on the couch with the intention to use, and the Narcan to shoot it if he overdose. And then had a chance to even shoot it, to use it.
Yeah. Say that again about the 3 grains of salt.
Yeah, it takes about 3 grains of salt to take you out.
Of the fentanyl.
That's the fentanyl. That's how powerful fentanyl is.
So you're making me, I had a heart attack about a year ago, and one of the things I had to do was the thing where they stick the camera up and inside you, and they said, "Oh, we have to put you out with fentanyl." And it's like, oh, well, they did. Out and back up. I'm here talking to you, but
Right.
they use it in a hospital setting.
Oh, yeah.
Well, see, and that, and this is where people misuse fentanyl. That's supposed to be administered by a doctor.
I mean, it was. I'm here.
No,
Right.
It's a part of a surgical procedure.
Exactly, and that's and there is different type of it.
But when they said fentanyl, it's like, oh, I'm not, you know.
And that's just for that procedure, and because that doctor know how much to use. It's
But
the
when
same
you say
instant
3
with,
grains of salt, it's like.
yeah, and it's the same thing with Michael Jackson and the use of yeah.
It's
So all of those things have to be administered by a doctor, not by RN, not by an LVN, by that doctor, and he know exactly the percentage that should be given to you. So yeah, that's one of the main things. But as far as that powder, that white substance, it takes just a little bit to get on you, and it will knock you out.
Oh, you mind sharing what happened to you?
Oh yeah. So I'm with the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation out in Tustin. I had one of my clients who, the police had him on hold. I didn't want to let him free, so he came down to the office. He had a backpack, and I had to do a search before I start to do his paperwork. And on the whole, I put my naked hand into his backpack, and the rest was history. I wake up in the hospital out in Tustin.
And somebody had administered Narcan for you?
Yes, my partner, my partner did, and luckily he was in the office the same time, and I was transported over to the regional center out there.
Yeah, they say if you see anything on your windshield wipers of the car, and don't touch it, let it fly away on its own. Keep your windows up when it happens, because they've been putting it on windshields and different things. So you have to be careful. Don't haphazardly touch anything.
No, don't
That
do
doesn't
it,
look like,
especially with ladies.
Yeah.
Females, women being out there, going to the grocery store, moving around, doing your daily life routine. You come up on your car, and always make sure you have like tissue in your hand. You go to your car, sometimes you don't know what is on the hand, and these guys are very clever doing it. I'm telling you, I've seen on a daily basis out in Orange County, in San Diego, and cover all that area. I mean, it was on this woman car handle.
Ooh.
And luckily she had tissue, and she blew it, but she blew the opposite of her,
Right.
so it doesn't bounce back into her face. But you have to be very careful.
Oh, but you could tell it was like a powder
It was
substance on her
it was
hand.
a white powder substance. She said, I didn't know what it was. So she just blew it. She opened her car with tissue. She was able to get it out to the PD for them to test it to see.
Unbelievable. That's
Yeah.
scary. That's something you gotta really be aware of
Yeah.
and conscious at all times.
This week, a lady, but she's now off of parole. She went to Walmart in Irvine, and she says this woman parked in the back of Walmart. The woman came up to her, and the woman told her, he said, "Ma'am, could you please give me a jump? My car won't start." He said, and the woman said to her, "Well, I'm really rushing for school. I need to get my kids from school. Can you ask somebody else?" And she was like, "No, you only take a few minutes. Can you just give me a jump?" He said, "My car is parked back here." As a female, why would you park your car in the back of a grocery store? So the woman insists of trying to get the other woman to take her to get a jump, and she said, "No, I can't." So she got in her car and she started out. She said when she started out, she saw two men coming from the back with her.
Oh.
She said when she looked at one of them, he was bent right over in a freezing position. They were back there shooting up.
Wow.
So you can't let your guards down.
Right.
You have to be careful. Just be aware of your surrounding. Be aware of where you're sitting if you're on public transportation. Be very mindful. Be open with your kids. try not to hide it from them. I said, education start from home, let them know exactly. A lot of parents, a lot of grandparents don't know about these things. And so we try to educate them on it
Right,
because they're vulnerable. They don't know.
that's true.
You know, we have right here in LA, we had a couple OD at Hollywood High School. We had another,
Oh, yeah,
we
I
had
heard
a
about
couple
that.
OD at another high school out in El Monte area. So it's becoming,
Yeah.
I think, of the norm for them now.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Jamar works with a lot of youth, so yeah, you got to talk about it. Any questions you have for Mike?
Yeah, especially the boys, them, you know, these young boys, we can't hide anything from them. We got to let them know, we got to rope them in and let them know, you know, serious talk, because these young boys are the ones that are hype with their friends, and like, you know, they don't want to be soft, or they don't want to be called any kind of names or label. So they try to be rough and tough, and other guys, you know, introduce things to them. So we just have to stay on top of it with them.
Yeah, especially with these backpacks and everything. You need
Yeah.
to start checking those things, but you can't do it with your bare hands. Remember, always have gloves
Yeah,
on.
gloves is a must these days.
Yeah.
It's a must.
Yeah, because I've been planning with the youth that's in the shelter to come out to cease fire.
Speak up for them.
To try to navigate some of these youngsters, there is a transitional age shelter, 18 to 25.
Mm.
I know there's heavy marijuana use. I don't know any other
Substance.
there they might be in.
Yeah, but you know what they say, marijuana is the gateway to other drugs.
Yeah, that's what I was about to tell you. Marijuana that's just the pipeline.
Yeah.
So they use the marijuana. We already know exactly what marijuana will give us. Mood swings, we have the munches, we crave a lot of sweets, but then they move on to bigger things after that.
Yeah.
You know, they start lacing it. One of the things I have to watch out with these guys is that they're using cough syrup and mixing cough syrup with alcohol. And they call it, it's almost like something like Sherm, they call it, but I can't remember the exact name for it.
Lean.
Yeah.
What'd you
but-
call it?
Lean.
Lean. They're mixing it with different cough syrup, and so they do that to get another high.
So this LEAN?
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder why it's called that.
You know the cough syrup knocks you out.
Oh,
So you get
Lord.
some alcohol,
Okay.
Yeah.
and you get two different types of.
If you know and I often tell a lot of parents this, out in Orange County, you know, you are on medication, some people use heavy drugs, you know, codeine and all that stuff. You want to make sure that you lock those things up. You don't want to just put those things right in your medicine cabinet, because again, teenagers, youths are experimenting with these things. You know, these medication are being sold in the streets. You don't know that, but I'm telling you, these medication are being sold in the streets, $150 for one pill,
What?
$200 for one pill. A guy, one of my parolee told me, he went to the store. He stole some goods from Target. And the law is so stupid, you can't run after them no more. So he walked out of Target with a bunch of stuff. He got $300 that he sold those things for. He was able to buy ecstasy and codeine, mix it together.
Oh my God.
They found him at the bus stop, passed out.
Interesting. Amazing.
You know,
Donna,
this-
Mr. Brown, you have any questions from Michael?
Well, you know, I'm now, first I was wondering, you know, where the interest was, but speaking as a landlord, and we're an alliance of landlords that are housing or allowing different intensive case management service agencies to house certain populations, which one are reentry clients. And there is this sort of program or ordinance called harm reduction,
Yeah,
where it has sort of taken our landlords really by surprise, where we can't displace them or move them or things like that because of this harm reduction thing. So I'm wondering if the county or some other organization will be training these homeless service agencies like Hopix and
right.
PATH and the other usual agencies that are out there to actually be able to provide this drug to help some of these people that are living in our transitional and or our permanent supportive housing buildings or facilities, as well as I'm now realizing that in some of the owners that because we don't really get involved with how the services are being provided to
Right.
the residents, but if something's going on and someone's cleared out of the unit and they're either in the hospital for 5150 or something like that happens, my crew usually goes in there and starts to doing the clean out when they know that that person is not going to be coming back to our apartment unit. So now this is something I'm seeing that's getting so widespread that I have to start talking to my crew, my cleanup crew. When you're going into these units after people have been displaced or moved out, you have to be prepared, almost like, hazmat
Yes.
style PPEs in order to protect yourself when we're cleaning out these units. I've seen there's been needles and drugs and crack pipes and all this sort of thing left behind at many of our units. And our guys just go in there and clean it up, however. So now I'm seeing that this is an issue, because we have a responsibility to protect our employees. However, there should be some sort of program for these homeless service agencies like PATH and Hopix and Project 180 and these organizations that are being paid to service the different populations. And Mayor Bass was just on TV today saying that one of the things that she think is really faltering with her getting to the level of supplying housing and housing the unhoused is the lack of skill support from some of these housing agencies, whether it's they don't have the funding to house the professionals that are actually skilled to provide the service. We're hearing that in some of the meetings. So they're left with, low paying employees that they feel that the only ones they could hire is those that were formerly users. And some of these they may say they formerly users. However, they can still relapse, especially when they're dealing with people that are already using and they don't really, have a grip, as one of the instances
And also
that was being explained.
sometimes you have to bear in mind that the ones that were former user are the ones that will supply, that they try to be best friends with the chronic user. And so therefore, those are the ones that will supply or bring it in for them. But what one of the things that you might want to do is to get your staff trained and educated on it.
Yeah.
because that's what I do in Orange County, is that if someone walk away from treatment, if someone decided that they're going to get a pass to go out and come back, and the staff know that the behavior has changed, is that we monitor them. We have monitors. So there is a 30 minutes run. And if you see any changes, you need to report it immediately. You need to call me, you need to let me know. But you need to educate them. Definitely walking away from treatment or just get evicted. You don't want to go into that room barehanded, without a mask, without proper gloves, and clean out anything, because the last thing you need is to get poked from someone else's needle.
Right.
And a chronic user will find his way of getting stuff in. I have guys who rip the waistline of boxers and pack it to bring it into the facility.
Wow.
So when you think by searching pockets, taking off your hats, turning over your jacket pocket is enough, that's not enough. So again, it's a tedious job, but you constantly have to do training. You constantly have to educate these people, the ones that are working, especially with them.
Tori,
Yes, I'm finding this very, very interesting from a landlord and one that's responsible for housing and choosing different homeless service agencies to match them up with our properties.
Yeah.
But what the most important thing that's really jumping out at me is to train our cleanup crews
Yes.
when they
Yes.
go into these units.
Donna?
yeah, my concern with what I think is coming out, the housing that needs to be provided is the one with specialty people who have been trained, who are able to deal with the issues at hand, rather than saying build housing, put people in it. Not going to work. All the housing in the world won't work if you don't have the specialty staff and setups for this kind of population, which is what we're seeing the most of. And rather than asking landlords, of which I am, and Laura, people who are everyday people working with housing, you cannot ask or even want to place many of the people you're speaking of in those kinds of situations. And that's what I've been saying for a long time.
Yes, you have. But what I want to, that's why I asked Michael, what was the process? So that they are supposed to be in sober living homes first, with hopefully staff that understand the process. And then they go to their resident housing. Then, after 180 days or so, go into their regular apartments. So that's not to say, though, that LA County is as strict about it as Orange County.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know what LA County, process is before they match them up. And my understanding is, I don't like the CES system because it's inhuman. And your placement may not be where you should be based on random selection. So, but that's just me. But
no, it isn't just you.
I know.
Money.
I can only speak for me.
Let me just ask,
Donna, Michael wants to ask you a question.
Sure.
To Don and the gentleman up top.
That's Mr. Brown, yeah.
Mr. Brown, are you guys housing random users, or how do you get your tenants?
I don't take any of those people. I did.
Okay, yeah. I'm
Okay.
talking about that.
Mr. Brown?
At one point,
Well, we depend on
veteran, and I
the
made
service.
Oh, wait a minute.
Both of you are talking.
Wait a
Donna's
minute,
still
Mr. Brown.
answering.
Go ahead, Donna. You were going
At
in.
one point, at one point, I actually took a veteran recommended to me by Section 8 and brought in with his support system. They were afraid of him, I found out. And that was a disaster. And I learned, one thing I learned, if you do the same thing 2 times and expect a different outcome, it is the definition of
Insanity.
Well, really quick, we have Grace you here, who's an attorney, and she's involved with a lot of different things in the community as well. Grace, what would you think your role could be to strengthen the process? I'm helping as well, but to strengthen the process, the law, that they must go through a process. They must go through sober living before they're placed in any permanent supportive housing. And that's my thing is, I think everybody should be in some type of interim housing before they're placed in permanent housing. Because they don't have to be in there as a 3-year program, but they can be 8 months to a year to determine the behaviorisms, the violence level, if any, and any other destruction that they may cause to the property. Well, I think I've been in interim housing for a while now, and we have a really pretty good crew. But a couple of times they brought people in there that I was like, whoa, that's just like on television, because I've never used any substance that's gonna alter my mind, that I can even, but I see it, I watch it, and I study it. You know what I mean?
No, I'm watching and studying you right now. What was the question for Grace?
Well, I got what I'm doing. You just let me finish. But anyway, I didn't lose track of Grace. I got Grace. Grace thinking. She got scenarios to think about while I'm posing the initial question. So what I'm saying is, had I not watched this one particular movie, this client we had was exactly, her mannerisms and everything was exactly like on the film. And she was a larger, person. And I was there by myself one day and I had to address the issue because I heard doors slamming. I let her do it a few times. And then I said, okay, let me go up here and see what's going on. So I bought security with me, had him stay out of the way, and I watched her. Her curtains were open in her window. So I watched her for a while. But one good tip that I had was from her caseworker was that she follows instructions very well, right? But it has to be pretty stern. So she came out of that room and it was just different. So I just clapped my hands really quick and say, look, you go over there and lay down and watch television. I told her, and she did immediately. She went and sat down, lay down, but she analyzed the situation and she said, wait a minute. So she got up a couple more times. But for the most part, I don't have to deal with a lot of nonsense. It's only been twice that I really had an encounter where I had to use the trauma-informed care. And that I knew what to do before I even took the training for trauma-informed care. So when I did take it, I gave them that scenario. They said I did follow the steps as they would have told anybody to do. But it's kind of interesting when you're in the midst of it. So if I was on the street, it would have been a whole other story. But I was in a confined, familiar area. So it makes a difference. And you know their behaviors and you know how to kind of communicate with them on a daily basis. But Grace, as far as the law is concerned,
Here's the question.
Yeah, well, as far as the law is concerned, I pretty much asked the question, how can we make some changes or what can we do in Los Angeles County that enforce some of the behaviors and assist the landlords with getting better matches?
Well, Tori, truthfully, you're amazing in getting the right matches in with the right people. You really are doing a phenomenal job. But the reality is, a lot of the case management workers have no idea what they're doing.
That's true.
Okay,
I've
so you
noticed
can't
that.
house anybody if you're afraid of the client.
That's
If
right.
the client is bullying you and you don't understand, you just need to stand up for yourself. Right? You
Right.
can be a petite person and still hold yourself.
That's right.
It's in how you carry yourself sometimes, most of the time, but not every time. Sometimes you're just not going to be able to deal with people who don't want to be handled. Right? That's the
true.
reality.
That's true.
And I agree with you. I agree with you with that, Grace. I have a staff member who come to me. She's a female. She's very small. She's in charge of having the process group and the morning groups. But because these are men, some big, some small, she always feel intimidated. So she would come to me and she was like, she would walk out in the middle of the group. I can't deal with this. And
No, she can't do that.
stop. No, you are the counselor. So you're going to let them take control of your meeting, or are you going to take control of your meeting? Which is it? As a counselor, one of the less thing you want your client to see is that you can't stand on your own.
Yeah, if you
Or
show
you
that
being
you're
afraid. If you being
intimidation,
afraid of them,
you're lost.
Right.
you can't stand on your own, and they take over, they're in control.
Yeah.
You gave up your power.
Yeah.
So I had to constantly redirect her. Let's use a random name. Patricia, you in charge. So I want you to go back, because I'm not going to stop what I'm doing to take over a group.
Right.
But I want you to go back in there and you're going to stand on your grounds because you're the counselor. Now, all of them have behaviors. I get that. And all of them have different issues. All of them have different use. But you are in control. If you can control this group, then you're in the wrong field.
I mean,
That's
we
right.
talk about the fact that many of the case management people are themselves maybe one paycheck away from becoming homeless. So if you have people who are not prepared to work with the population, then you're setting people up for failure.
Right.
You just don't have the right folks helping.
Right.
And so we've got to train them better. And just like we don't know what the homeless individual's issues are, we're sending off caseworkers with issues and an inability to work sometimes.
Well, there's also another issue, and Donna knows this for me, and Tori does, but for the small landlord, well, even for a large landlord, if you end up with a person in one of your units who is mentally ill or using, or both, or dual diagnosis,
Yeah.
what do? Because what you can't do is say, hey, you have to leave, because the laws are now so strict. So I think a lot of small landlords, having heard that the city council wants you to say yes to vouchers, are saying, no, I'm not even gonna advertise. Yeah, no, but I'm saying, I'm not even going to advertise. The only way anyone will get into my apartment as a new tenant is through word of mouth.
Right.
Because I don't want the city to know I have an apartment available. And
Well,
that's not
I
helping
can-
anybody.
I'd like to add something to that. After the harm reduction thing kind of went rampant through our housing portfolio, we came up with a sort of a system, because we don't want to spend our entire life in eviction court, and we don't want to create
Right.
additional barriers to housing in the future once they get better. But we've been using a system that we call the relinquishment letter, where the housing agency has agreed that if we avoid eviction, because we've had people set the house on fire, walk out the door, lock the door, and go to the grocery store, or go across the street and watch the fire department put out the fire, or throw all their clothes out of the window. And that sort of thing. So this relinquishment letter gives us the ability to tell the housing agency that they need to relocate this person, give us the keys back. You have to continue paying the rent while you're processing between that. And the homeless housing initiative has some funding in that to pay up to, I think, 3 months of vacancies until they
Ah,
find a person to bring back. But that relinquishment letter, with people understanding that if you break the lease or you cause an issue or there's activity that's not conducive to be able for independent living, the agency have to immediately remove that person from that unit. And they give us the keys back, we avoid eviction, and then they get someone in there that's more ready for independent living. So that's sort of worked out for us. There's been times when we've had up to 9 units that were vacant, but they were being paid for every month. So,
oh, that's good.
the owners didn't really mind, that. But that relinquishment letter is something that we advise smaller landlords to implement, so they don't have to spend time and money in eviction court, that they make that agreement up front with the housing agency, because I would never allow landlords or whatever to be to rent to those that they don't understand the behavioral situation or status that a particular person is. Always look for a homeless housing service agency or an intensive case management service agency to master lease or manage
Right.
those people that are in your property.
No. Well, one thing that I was thinking about could be implemented into law or some kind of proposal, especially under the emergency crisis circumstances, is the interim housing for a person that's qualified and capable to give a referral to acknowledge that we haven't had any problem out of this particular person with all three: behavior, distraction, or violence. If we could do a referral letter up front, and that would save them from all that other on the back end. That's one thing I was thinking about. But see, that's only going to work if, like myself, has certain skills to identify and have actually had a year or so relationship with these people to understand that that's how they are. They're pretty consistent. I had one of the residents on one of our calls here at one time, and she's still steady, and she's not a drug user or anything like that. And she just had a situation with their family and the property and probate and all that kind of stuff. So we have some clients like that who just have issues with parents have passed, probate issues, family want to put it out of sale. So all that kind of stuff is happening too, is making people unhoused. So there's a lot of variations of reasons. So everybody's not on drugs and alcohol. Everybody's not a domestic violence case. So, and then the domestic violence cases that we have, a lot of them are relocated to us from outside the city or sometimes the county. So it depends, but I think that referral letter from interim housing would be great. But and everybody from sober living should have these steps, these processes to go through. So by the time they get to permanent supportive housing, the likelihood, I guess, the 50%, you can work on raising that number, but 50% is really good pool to pull from for permanent supportive housing.
I think that relinquishment letter is a wonderful idea, but tell Section 8 about it.
Yeah, they're not gonna do that.
Section 8, one of the agencies that you work with, Brandy? Wait,
Well,
let me
we're
answer
talking about
that in a
different
minute.
kinds of things.
Yeah.
There's voucher housing, and that could be,
No, it's different.
right, no, I'm saying that's different.
Right.
In other words, HAPLA, Housing Authority of County of Los Angeles, which is really a federal agency, it's not city or county. They issue vouchers, so you could have an apartment building with 16 units and one has a voucher family. or 16 have vouchers.
Yeah, but they're all regular
But it-
apartments,
They're regular
regular
apartments.
apartments, it
And then
depends.
they just negotiate, in effect, semi-negotiate a rent with the landlord based on area median, yeah.
Median area income, yeah.
Well, no, about median rents.
They
But-
will give
But
you,
once they're in, they won't take them.
they'll give you a lot of money, Laura.
I
But
know.
once they get them in your unit, God bless you.
Okay, Donna, you know that the bungalow court used to be almost all HACLA vouchers, so
Yeah.
we dealt with them, and it's a real benefit on the one hand
Right.
for the elderly ladies or for a landlord who has a regular income. I mean, that
Right.
part's a benefit. The non-benefit is if it is dealing with the case managers with their. But also, I mean, we had one situation where the family told us that they moved mom to the daughter's home because she was not feeling very well and the grandson was staying in the apartment, blah, 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 blah. And come to find out, mom died, but they were collecting her Social Security.
Oh.
And we were collecting her rent, not knowing she was dead. And when the federal government figured it out because they have databases,
Right.
we were required to pay back the money. They didn't go after the family.
Oh, wow.
They went after the landlord. So that's the kind of situation you end up with in a federal bureaucracy. I mean, I understand it's taxpayer money. Somebody had to pay it
But
back.
that's one of the
But-
laws that need to be changed.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that's what
It
those,
was not
that's
like it was our fault.
Right.
And we had another situation, well, it's probably the same apartment, and then one of the other little old ladies had a friend who wanted to move in, and she had a voucher, she was moving from Sacramento, and it would have been hunky-dory, and we met her, we liked her, would have let her move in, and we're being told by the agency, it might take us 3 to 6 months to approve. It's like, we have the apartment right now.
Oh, see, that's the
We're
things
not
that
gonna
need
have it
to
in
tighten
6
up.
months.
Yeah.
We have it now. And then one other situation, same building where somebody died, and we knew this person died. Different situation where actually died. And we went back to HACLA to say we'd like to, advertise it because we have all these seniors.
As if HACLA has things together, please.
Well, they do,
Right.
but the problem is they said after all those years, well, you're not officially senior housing, we have to put it out for families. It's like, these are 1-bedroom bungalow apartments and all the other tenants are senior adults. And we're not going to open this up to large families because it wouldn't it would be loud. It wouldn't be a
Not
comfortable living
necessarily,
situation. Well, you're saying not necessarily, but it
But
was like,
yeah.
don't tell, we want it,
Yeah,
we want to limit it, and they said you can't. We're not gonna let you.
wow.
Well, gee, then,
So we rented it to a young creative artist.
Oh,
And from then, every time.
Well, they
now
have
it's
a
not senior housing at all.
relatively new CEO who has spoken on our calls before she was CEO.
Yeah.
But now
I'm just saying
I'm
they
asking
have
her to come
rules,
back
and then other
soon.
rules, and then other rules.
Right.
and
Yeah,
it's
these
like,
rules
It's not viable.
are not helpful
Because we would have been perfectly happy. David bought the building.
Right,
to do affordable senior
Well, to
housing.
keep it that way. I mean, the man who sold it had bought it because his mom lives there. So he wanted to sell it to someone who appreciated the same idea. And,
but these system failures are room for us to do some changes. I mean, that's,
Absolutely.
yeah, that
But you
gives
gotta have
you,
people who want to see these changes
Right.
implemented.
right,
Understanding how critical it is to fix a little piece here,
Right.
then all the way down, right?
Right.
We're the bottleneck.
right,
right.
exactly.
And if only one
Exactly.
of those issues of those that I just listed had happened, we'd probably still be in the senior housing, voucher housing business.
Right.
But it was just every time there were all these roadblocks and to make it very difficult, if not impossible. And I told the story in the wrong order because it was the pay back the rent was the last. That was
It's the
like,
last
done,
straw.
just done.
But that's where you challenge or sit down and request a meeting with the mayor
Yeah, but it's.
because
Federal.
well,
You're right,
yeah, but,
You know,
I
I'm
mean,
a person who
yeah.
wants to make change in the
right.
world.
I mean, that's when you sit down with her and say, look, we're in an emergency crisis. These systems are failing us.
Right,
And identify where it's sometimes it's just one little step in the process
Right.
that makes a major difference.
but Donna's never gonna offer this kind of housing again because of a valid reason.
yeah, yeah.
Never is never clear.
There's no such thing as never. Now we gotta get that. We gotta work on that.
Yeah.
We'll work
Never. Never.
on that.
I'm pretty sure David will never do it again either.
Well, we
Yeah.
see that's sad though, but
Yeah.
at least you're open minded enough to say that you will and take a direct referral.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah,
of
we're just
course.
gonna advertise because the city council's got some sort of motion on the docket of mandatory, you must accept vouchers, or you must accept, you must, and it's like, don't wanna, just don't wanna. You know?
Well, when people
And-
don't have to follow any rules, when you can be a neighbor that is loud and obnoxious at 2, 3 in the morning and there's nothing that can be done, who wants to deal with this?
Right.
Well,
Common sense has left.
Who wants to deal with the other tenants saying, I'm gonna move out
That's right.
Oh yeah.
because of it?
That's a
Yeah.
problem.
No, so you have to see this as a win for everybody, not just this
Right.
one little thing you need. Well,
Right.
the people who are there right now,
No, I mean, you
Yeah.
need to allow landlords to have tools to
Right.
keep the ambiance
Right.
of
Calm.
the whole.
yeah, when you used to
complex.
have sort of this,
Well, you could evict someone on nuisance.
exactly.
I mean, and now you can't.
Well,
Or the
as long as everybody's fair about it, I mean.
no, you
that's
can't. It's not
main thing.
one of the reasons.
Yeah.
It's not on the list.
Well, it's just, it's lawlessness at this point.
Right.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. Pretty
And,
much.
and
So
some-
what we gotta do about this, ladies
I
and
don't know.
gentlemen?
I don't know, we've come far afield from Narcan, but
Not well. It's still.
But
It's all
It's
the
all
same realm.
relative.
Yeah, it's all related.
yeah, and I will say that I'm not even sure a landlord could begin proceedings for drug abuse or drug sales at this point. In this current atmosphere at this point with all the restrictions on, I'm gonna use eviction.
Well, that's where that relinquishment letter comes in.
No, I understand.
Yeah, I
But
mean.
I think it would just be difficult in Los Angeles.
It depends on, yeah, there's ways to do everything, but to answer your question about case management, it depends on, like, Mr. Rodney Brown has, buildings, right? But you gotta, if he had, retail on the bottom and there was services offered, then case management would be there. But if it's permanent supportive housing, you're on your own with case management for the most part, unless you're in the program.
Has to be.
Or-
well,
or-
there's a-
Well, we've come up with our own sort of program, especially after that harm reduction program took over. So I went directly to the city attorney's office.
Okay,
And with the city attorney and our local senior lead officers, we've put together a system where the same office that our nonprofit homeless housing service agencies occupy during the day when they're supposed to be providing services. In the evening, we allow law enforcement to use that same office as a substation. So this way, we
Wow.
have sort of a quasi security force that with the 41 with the LA Municipal Code 41.24, which is the 602L non-trespassing ordinance that turns a trespassing violation to a felony, from a misdemeanor to a felony. So when you see that sign that says not open to the public on occupied buildings, if you look down the bottom right, if you see 41.24, that's a Los Angeles Municipal Code that has a gang ordinance attached to it as well. It allows for express other circumventions of certain eviction processes to take place if they're gang affiliated or drug dealers and that sort of thing. So I register every one of our buildings with the local precinct. You walk right in there, that 602L trespassing ordinance, they have the forms right there at the front desk. You put the manager's information and who owns the property, and it gives the local law enforcement the authority to act on your behalf like security. So they don't have to call you to go and arrest people. They'll go into the property if they chase someone there. They're also given the authority that once you, the landlord or our on-site manager, hands them the keys, and the drug dealers or whoever they're looking to apprehend run into a unit where normally you can't go into that private space. Well, in this instance, we hand them the keys and they go right in and they arrest everybody. We've cleared out the 10, 15 units at a time with 15,
And that's
20
what it
officers in the lobby and clear out those properties. And then the intensive case managed service agency has to open up files and relocate all those ones. We had gang issues with drug issues. And when we first built that building at 507 West 83rd Street, right at the corner of 83rd and Figueroa, there were prostitutes on each corner. And we were able to get that property under control. It took a unit of 14 officers to converge on that property. And the reason that I had to be proactive about that for my landlords and developers that decide to house or allow their buildings to be used as permanent supportive housing, affordable housing, is because the city attorney has what's called a friendly lawsuit that they're filing against owners, landlords, where if you have a problem property and the police are at that property more often than necessary, the city attorney can file a lawsuit and have the county and a judge to take over the management of your building. They call it a friendly lawsuit. So I took my developers to the city attorney's office with our local lead manager from Newton, 77th Street and Southwest. And we sat down with the city attorney and they said, listen, if you follow this ordinance and have Rodney to register your properties with us to show us that you're doing your best as landlords to try to control this, we will avoid this friendly lawsuit that we're considering against this building. However, we think that the key is, the fact that you're allowing our officers to use that office in the evening as a substation is a very good deterrent, because while they're there, their squad cars parked out front with the yellow lights going quite often. And so that's worked very well for us, as as well as using law enforcement as our local security.
Oh, yeah, that's really creative and sounds like a good solution, as long as it's working.
Okay, I want to point out
I know,
time.
I know. Okay, so any other questions, or did you have any questions?
And thank you all. I have to make a hard stop. Thank you so much for inviting me. I didn't know I didn't know what to look forward to, but now I see. Thank you so much.
Thank
It was a
you.
blessing meeting you today, earlier today. And stay in touch with us. We're on track to building another 1,500 affordable housing units around LA. And I'm looking for more and more properties all the time. So if you have any churches or anyone that's looking to build affordable housing and do it in a way where, like I tell my landlords, I'm going to set it up to where all you got to do is shake hands and kiss babies.
Oh, yeah, I have something for you tomorrow if you're available at 1 o'clock.
I'm available. Okay,
Okay.
thank you all so much for the
Thank
hard
you.
work you do. I appreciate all your hard work, and God bless.
Okay, well, make sure you visit us on a monthly basis and give us an update on all these properties you're building so we can put some people in them.
Absolutely. Let's do good and do well.
Okay, you
Okay, God
too.
bless.
Okay, God bless you. Oh, okay, Grace, you have anything you want to share with
No, I
us?
just came in to see what you guys were up to and, just touching bases.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Okay.
it's 8:07. We usually, try to make it till 8:30 or so, but
We
get
usually
figure-
start at 7, not 6:30.
Oh, yeah, see, yeah, we did start early today. We did start early today, and it's so funny. I don't know what happened. I talked to Roger and Benny and everybody. I guess during the technical difficulty, they tried to get on, but I knew he had to be off at 7.
Right.
So CD10 owes us an update,
Okay,
and so we'll have to work on that in April.
Right.
At our next meeting. So the next meeting will be April, whatever the last Thursday is of the month. We usually put it on the agenda,
oh, it did, it's there.
and it is
The 25th.
April the 25th. Yes.
I do.
So April 25th, we'll have another hot topic, I'm sure. And let's give Michael Peters a hand for being so informative and, oh my God,
And you have to
enlightening us.
In bed and back up by 3.
Yes. So we really appreciate his time, and we're gonna go ahead and adjourn
Thank
at
you.
8:08. At 8:08, and thank you, Donna, for coming and giving your input as usual.